Hi, folks, and welcome to their Saturday Morning Samoflange. I'm Matt, and Benjamin couldn't be here. Mikey didn't even respond back to my text. That's okay. He's probably busy too, which means, I'm going to be solo next week too, because we usually do 2 of these at a time. And it's kind of sad because they came up with all these ideas, and I did not have any backup, but I do need to make the podcast, and it's going to be a busy couple of weeks for me. So I'm going to go over some of these really good ideas that they had. I hate it, but I'm going to keep one of them because I think one of them we would all be good together on that. The 2 ideas they came up with, the first one I want to do is top 5 TV shows that should have ended sooner. Now, this is a huge list. It could be for people because going back through, every TV show, you could probably list several different ones that you think, yeah, this should have ended a long time ago. And what's the phrase from Happy Days? Jump the shark. That's what it meant when Fozzie. The Fonz, is this the Muppet Show? When the Fonz jumped over a shark on skis, that's how they coined the phrase "jumping the shark," meaning the show got ridiculous and it was kind of run dry of any ideas. And there's a lot of shows that you could say jump the shark, right? They're just not that good. They shouldn't have gone extra seasons. And this is going to be interesting because you guys have been commenting in the putting stuff in the comments on YouTube about your top 5, and this is one I really would like to hear about what yours would be, because I'm probably going to agree with a bunch of them, and I am kind of sad the other guys aren't here because I doubt, I'm so sure that there'd be 0 crossover. I don't even think we'd have 1 crossover because there's so many shows you can say went too long in the tooth. All right. So I was prepared when we were guessing how many crossover. 0 was what I was going to say with confidence, because there's, again, just you're talking about shows from however long. Some shows earned their long series run, like Seinfeld. I hear Friends did, but I never watched Friends. I Love Lucy went technically 9 seasons, and it was solid the whole way through. Of course, it was the #1 show the whole way through as well. But there are certain shows that should have ended sooner. So I'm going to give my top 5, and then probably address a random topic just to fill out it, because these things got to go 30 minutes somehow. I had a hard time. Well, no, I didn't have a hard time assembling this. I went for the top 5 that went to the top of my mind. And as I sat there and thought of anything more, I didn't even look up this topic online. Usually I do to see if I missed anything. But since I got 5, I feel pretty confident that these should be the 5 I choose. Now, number 5, and let me hold on. Are any of these still running? 2 of them are still running. 2 of these are current shows. And then the oldest type show would be, I don't know when it started, but the oldest type show, we're looking at the 2000s maybe. So I don't go back into the 90s or 80s or anything like that. I think late or mid 2000s is where I'm as far back as I'm going on these shows. And speaking of that, number 5 is one of those, I believe. It is Smallville. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, I hate Superman. I've never liked him. I always thought he was boring. Clark Kent is Superman. That's so obvious. Why is everyone so stupid not to realize that Superman with glasses is Clark Kent? So the alter ego I never got. Plus, a guy who's impenetrable, super strength, super speed. He's got everything. He's got everything. You can't defeat him. Well, you're saying, well, Matt, kryptonite. Yes, and in the comic books, they've found enough pieces of kryptonite to put his entire planet back together. I'm not a Superman fan. They tried to change it back in the 90s and 2000s. They said, oh, well, he can't, he's not strong enough for magic. So a bunch of magic villains came after him. And when that, thread got kind of tired, they said, okay, let's see, he gets his powers from the sun, so let's bring him out into space. That way he won't be as, powerful because the Earth's yellow sun isn't making him strong. Or let's have him fight villains at night where he doesn't have as much strength. And then that's where the idea of DC's Final Night came up, because they destroyed the sun and weakened Superman. Ah, ha, ha, ha. And then they went back to Kryptonite because they have nothing for him. So the only good Superman comic book that people have told me about is Superman All-Stars, and I never read it. I would read it maybe, I enjoyed the DC animated cartoon show. I mean, you know, they did a decent job. But overall, I don't like Superman. So why am I watching Smallville? Well, I had a roommate, and he's been on my Prince of the Universe podcast several times. It's Steven. Steven, for anyone who needs to remember this, if you listen to both podcasts, Steven is the one who came in and we did the reviews on the Silo series, some other science fiction series, and of course the Wheel of Time. He's a huge Wheel of Time fan. And he was a roommate of mine at one time, a long time ago. I've told my hilarious stories about him in the past. Actually, it is around Halloween, so I may as well tell a Halloween story while I'm killing. Maybe I won't have to kill time if I keep telling stories like this, but this didn't happen around Halloween. But I mean, I don't really suffer that much from it, but I do have night terrors. Constant nightmares is what I deal with. I used to wake up, you know, going, no, screaming, you know, or something like that. Or I'd wake up in a fright because I always have consistent nightmares most times when I dream. Yeah, never sweet dreams. Most times if I dream, it's going to be a nightmare. Something's chasing after me, and then I'm running, and I'm tired of running, so I turn around and go after it and just fight whatever creature, villain, whatever it is. And, of course, wake up. I used to wake up screaming. I don't much anymore. You know, I may call it and go, whoa, or something like that, you know, and realize immediately. Usually I just wake up and know that I've been dreaming now. But my wife, when we first got married, would hear me go, no, like that real quick, because I was trying to run away from something or something was getting me or whatever, and I was trying to escape. But like I said, it doesn't happen that much. But you know, it's been a consistent thing most of my life. And when I forgot to tell my roommate Steven that, and so I think one of the first nights I was there was no, this is later on because JR was with us the first few weeks I was there. His roommate was leaving and I was coming in, and I think JR was with us just for a very little while till he left. And JR heard me start because I was like, I grabbed him, and went, JR. He went, what, man? I went, oh, nothing, and went back to bed. I was so embarrassed because he was in another bed right next to mine, and I was like, what's going on? You know, I kind of woke up kind of disoriented. And then when he left, I had a dream that Dracula was outside, or a vampire or whatnot, and he was outside the window. He goes, yeah, I'm gonna suck your blood. I'm gonna kill you. I was like, no, you're not, because you know I locked the front door. You can't get in. He went, but did you lock the back door? And then he takes off running. Well, that's when I wake up, because sometimes I'd randomly wake up. Well, it used to be so bad that I would wake up running and screaming. All right, and this is one of the nights I woke up, ran out of bed, screaming, top of my lungs, no, 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 and I open my door, run out into the living room, immediately stop. Because I'm embarrassed. Because that's when I kind of, you know, realized, oh, no, I'm awake. This is all a dream. Dadgummit. And I was like, oh, please don't tell me I woke him up. And, of course, he comes out of his bedroom. He looks at me. I'm very embarrassed. I'm mortified at this point because he doesn't know. I didn't tell him I suffered night terrors. He goes, you okay? I said, yeah, and I didn't know what to say. I went, I had a bad dream. Like a little kid. And I remember Steven, for all his credit, was like, he didn't know what to say because a grown man just told him I had a bad dream. And so he kind of, you know, looked around for a minute and went, do you want to talk about it? Like, he's like, what do I say? And I was like, well, you see, I had this dream that Dracula was coming to kill us. And he was coming through the back door, so I was running to lock the back door so he wouldn't kill you. And Steven looked at me, and I mean, seriously, it's like 3:30 or 4 in the morning. He goes, okay, well, thanks. And I said, good night. He went, good night. And we both went to bed. And then the next morning I explained to him what would happen. So if it happened again, I don't think I jumped out of bed again like that, but I did do screaming. I know he heard screaming every once in a while. He's probably thinking, who did I room with? But that's probably that's our funniest story that we share. And I can laugh at myself because, you know, that was the most embarrassed I've ever been about my night terrors. But Steven used to watch Smallville. Now, I had no care to watch Smallville, but he wanted me to watch because he was watching it live. I can't remember what season it was on, but he had the DVDs, and he was like, hey, catch up with it, and we'll watch season 5 together or whatnot. So I watched them, and the only thing I liked about it was Lex Luthor. And when he moved out, I still watched Smallville for a few more seasons and thought, wait a minute, why am I watching this show? I hate this show. And the moment I hated the show was when Lex Luthor left. And I can't remember what season this was, season 5, season 6, something like that. But when he left the show was really garbage after that. And I mean, the show was garbage before that too. But Lex Luthor was entertaining, and the friendship that was between him and Clark at a young age was interesting to hear about. You know, how his dad mistreated him, how he kind of wanted to be good, but Clark wouldn't let him into his life, and so that's what's kind of turned him into who he was. I loved it. I love that. But then the actor wanted to leave the show, which is wise, and he did. And after that, it just went downhill. I watched it for like a few more seasons, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to stop. And then I said, years later, I said, well, I'll watch them. I'll finish it off, and I did, and I regret it because it was just worse. It's such a terrible show. But Smallville should have stopped after whatever season it was, 5 or 6, when Lex Luthor left. Because after that, it was complete garbage instead of so-so garbage. All right, number 4. Everyone knows I'm going to say this one. You probably think it was number 1, but Clone Wars. Dave Filoni's Clone Wars. When should it have ended? I believe after season 3. For people who don't know, and I've said this before, I enjoyed the first couple of seasons. Yes, I hate Ahsoka, and yes, I thought there were bad episodes. But in the first couple of seasons where they focus on the clones, you know, and stuff like that, I loved that kind of stuff, and I thought it was decent. Again, there were episodes I rolled my eyes over. There were anything with Ahsoka I hated, but overall, I had a positive outlook on it the first couple of seasons. And I think it was season 4 when they decided to bring back Darth Maul and everything else. I just realized, wow, this show is going on way too long. It should have stopped after 3 seasons, and I think I would have been fine. And I wouldn't have complained about it really that much. I'd have still said I hate Ahsoka, but I wouldn't be like, oh, there's show. And again, I said this in one of my reviews a long time ago, the worst episodes, you know, the best episodes are in the first few seasons, and then it just started getting worse and worse as the seasons went on to where I hardly like any of the last few seasons, and we're talking about of the original run, not of the new run under, you know, Disney. But when we got to those last few seasons, they just got worse and worse. There was more garbage than there was good stuff. And, you know, if I can pinpoint exactly, I think after season 3, they should have just said, we're done. And I don't think I would be that negative about the show. I'd still say I hate Ahsoka, but other than that, I'd admit it was a decent show. Because like I said, those were when the best episodes were. You know, not to say they didn't have good episodes later on. They did, but they were few and far between at that point. So Clone Wars should have only gone 3 seasons. There's probably some people listening to this who goes, no, Matt, Clone Wars should have gone 0 seasons because Tartakovsky's was the best. And I definitely agree with that. It could have gone 0 seasons. But if I could have stopped it anywhere, I would have let it go 3 seasons and that'd have been it. And I think at that point there wasn't that much except for Ahsoka, which is a glaring contradiction in essence to the storyline. I don't think it was that bad on giving us all those continuity breaks. I could be wrong again, but either way, when Darth Maul entered the picture, which I believe is season 4, that's when they should have put the kibosh on the entire thing. All right, number 3. This one is too easy here. Battlestar Galactica. I think the show went 4 seasons, and each season was worse than the one prior. Honestly, probably should have stopped after season 1 and leaving us all begging for more. Season 1 was epic. Season 1 was something you binge all in one day. You stay up all night to watch those episodes. Season 1 is just brilliant. It's just brilliant. Such a great season. Season 2 is okay. It's okay. And maybe they could have gone 2 seasons and that would have been fine because season 2 is not bad. You know, nothing beats the first season, but second season, fine. Third season is so mediocre because I remember watching it going, okay, this isn't that good, and it didn't really go anywhere, and it's seeming to come off the rails. But I knew the 4th season was the last season because I watched these after they'd all come out. I didn't watch it when it was coming out. I just remember people told me about it, and it was all the rage. And when I watched the first season, I remember because Bruce gave me these on DVD. Bruce is my co-host for Prince of the Universe, and I was like, Bruce, I said, this is great. He said, I know, dude. I said, yeah, I mean, I am pumped. I just sat down and binge watched the entire first season. I'm ready to go. And then season 2, I went, okay, all right, season 2 is okay. It's good. Not as good as the first one, but it's still good. I'm still hooked. And then by season 3, I was like, does this end well? I mean, I was really worried because it wasn't going anywhere. And I thought season 4 was a complete disaster. Now, I've mentioned a few things on my live Q&As. But one of them is every character just does a 180. Does a complete 180, and they all are hypocrites. Everyone is, you don't respect a single person. They're all despicable humans, or Cylons, because half the crew turns out to be Cylons. So what was the point of the first season when they're running from the Cylons? And the Cylons wanted to kill them. Why didn't they just activate all of the Cylons on the ship and immediately slaughter all the humans? Because they could have done that. And at that point, they were still wanting to kill all humans. It was just really dumb, not thought out at all. Garbage. One of my biggest problems is the president. Again, I said this on a Q&A once, but I mean, if you don't watch all the Q&As, not Q&A, maybe I did on a live stream. Either way, though, there's a great scene in season 1 where she's saying we need to preserve humanity. That is what's our number one. The president's telling the captain that. So we will run, we will hide, we will do whatever we can to survive. And she has this chalkboard or marker board all through season 1. And as people are dying on the ship and, they're getting destroyed by Cylons or getting attacked and people are dying, she keeps erasing that number. It keeps going lower and lower. And then there's this great episode where someone gives birth. A pregnant mother gives birth on the ship, and they all celebrate at the end of the episode, and she adds a number to the last of the humans left in the universe. And I was like, oh, this is great. I love the board counter, because it's like they're going to lose more people than give birth. Well, then fast forward, I don't know, 3-4 seasons later, she when she was on Earth, she was for abortion, but now, we can't be killing humankind. But this girl gets pregnant. She wants to get an abortion. The president is about to sign a law to make it illegal for abortion because, again, the human race must survive. We got to save everyone. And that's been her speech throughout the entire show. But what does she do? She decides to let the girl get the abortion and then sign it into law. So, yeah, okay, congratulations. So your whole speech about, we must do everything we can to preserve human life, you threw it in the garbage. I don't care where you stand on abortion. All I'm saying is you were just saying that humans must exist. We must continue to have them exist, but yet you willingly allowed one not to be born. You willingly allowed that because there's a great episode, again, where she got to mark it, add a number to the board, which was a really great episode. But now she doesn't care. You can do it just behind my back, and I'll let it go knowingly. But from now on out, unless someone else, I guess, wants an abortion, then I'll let them sneak off and get one real quick. And we'll say it's an accident. So she doesn't really care about mankind. And I just thought that was just two-faced and garbage. So I think season 1, I would end the show. Maybe I'd allow it to go 2 seasons. And after that, I just leave fans all angry that we didn't finish the show. But thankful because you don't have to watch the last 2 seasons of it. Garbage. All right. Number 2. I can't remember what I had, but someone on a live Q&A accidentally gave me this one. They were just talking about something, and then I realized, oh my gosh, this is because I was making my list at the time and kind of paused for a minute to do my live Q&A. And when someone mentioned Stranger Things, that's when I knew that is my number 2. It could have been my number 1. I got a little bit of a coin flip here. Because it can be number 1. I'm putting it at number 2 because this one only needed to go 1 season. I'm not the big, as you know, we did some Stranger Things breakdowns. 2 was full of missed opportunities. 3 was, or maybe 2 was all right. And 3 was just missed opportunities, swing and a miss so many times. 4 held some interest. I was like, okay, but totally face planted in the last 2 giant-sized episodes. So, and season 5, please, Lord, end this show. It's just put it out of its misery at this point. It's a dog hollering to be shot, because it's broken all its bones. Just put it out of its misery. Mercy kill it, okay? And they should have done this after season 1. Now, obviously, they did not plan to have more seasons. They thought this would be just a one-hit wonder for Netflix or just 1 season, and that was it. And it's fine the way it ended in season 1. In fact, if we never would have gotten more, of course, people would have hated it because the show was so good. but did it ever need an episode? And maybe the creators could have gone, no, that's how it ends. The boy is, still kind of stuck in the other world, and, whatever happened to him, well, we let you use your imagination. But season 1 is on point the entire time. It, again, binge-worthy to watch it in every show. Not a second is wasted. It's all solid. It's not cheesy, remember the 80s. It's like a realistic style. I mean, it's so realistic that some of the bed sheets that they have for their makeshift tent, I paused it because my brother had already told me about this, but those bed sheets were the same exact design as my parents' bed sheets were back in the mid-80s. And we remembered what their bed sheets were, and they found that design. So they must have been looking at sheets and designs. I mean, right down to the bed sheets. I mean, oh man, the production on that, the clothing and everything. I was like, wow. I mean, they just didn't look at in old 80s, all these cheesy 80s TV shows that kind of come out, and they just remember the Rubik's Cube, remember this, remember that. They hit all those beats. But no, man, they had the design of bed sheets that were my parents' back then. Totally cool. It was almost like those were my parents' bed sheets. And, and they're ugly as sin because it was the mid to early 80s. But wow, what attention to detail. And the whole thing was interesting. The kids, you loved them all. And it was perfect because, let's be honest, the Noah kid that got captured or whatnot, he's not the best actor. So you took him out of most of your story. He serves his purpose, as being their friend in trouble, but you didn't see too much of his acting, and you didn't realize how bad an actor he is. I'm not trying to be mean, but he is a terrible actor. He's terrible. And all the other seasons, the more he speaks, you're like, just shut up, Will. I mean, he's just such a bad actor. But anyway, Stranger Things should have ended after season 1, and no one would have, they could have said, yep, that was all we had, and people would have been fine with that. I think people would have been fine with the ending. In fact, when they were doing a season 2, I rejoiced, and my brother goes, I don't think they need a season 2. I was like, oh, dude, come on. Season 1 was so good. He's like, yeah, but I don't think they can pull this off again. And he was right. He was right. Season 2, I was kind of in denial. I was like, okay, that was good. Not as good as the second one. And then season 3, I was like, oh, this is really bad. I was prepared to love it. And as it went on, I was like, oh, wow, this is really bad. And then the fourth one, I was ready to forgive it again. And again, I felt like it face planted. So Stranger Things, 1 season. It's all it deserved. All right, so what is my number 1? Again, debatable between this and Stranger Things. But my number 1 is a show that's still going on today that is so bad at this point, my wife has zero interest watching it, which you flip it around, she did not miss a minute of season 1. She didn't look at her phone, and she was just mesmerized and studied everything. Wanted to watch the episodes twice back then. What show am I talking about? The Walking Dead. Now, The Walking Dead is on season 10, 11, 12. I don't care. I don't care because they've done this. It's a 3-part season finale that stretches over 2 years. I don't know what that's about. But supposedly this is the last part 3 of the 3-part series finale or whatnot, as they do 12 episodes for each season finale. I don't know, the final season. Oh my goodness. This show should have ended right before, I remember where I pinpointed. Right before the introduction of Negan. I want to say that was the end of season 6. The whole We Are Negan storyline where they kept teasing Negan only to show him in the last 2 minutes of the finale was total garbage. Because at first you're getting interested because Negan's coming. Negan's coming. You're like, oh, if you're fans of the comic book, you're so excited. And if they would have introduced him maybe in the 4th episode or 6th episode, it would have been great. It was a great build-up. But as the episodes kept going, I kept going, I don't think they're going to show him. I was like, oh, they're going to wait to the finale? That's lame. And then you watch the finale, and he still didn't get shown to the very end. You're thinking, wow, uber garbage. They just baited you an entire season and gave you garbage just to say, oh, here's Negan at the end. Now come back and see us next week or next year. You know, we want high numbers again. And I was like, oh, okay, they don't care about story. They just care about dragging their fans along. And I was tuned out. By that point, I mean, had there been good episodes here and there, my wife was still in it to win it, but I wasn't. I was like, nope, garbage. garbage now. Not interested. And it's been worse and worse. Like for seasons, whatever, 8, 9, whatever. My wife's been, somewhat interested looking at the screen. Now she falls asleep during episodes. She's on her phone the entire time. She looks up every once in a while, but not even Daryl, who she loves. And the prior season, she would watch it if it was Daryl, and then kind of not pay attention if it was no one else. But now, not even Daryl can grab her attention. The show, and I agree with her, the show is a drag. It's garbage. It's not going anywhere. Sure, they're going to bring back Andrew Lincoln at the end. Ooh, look, and have a big old reunion, and what's her name is going to come back too. And yeah, it's probably going to be in the last episode. And they're going to build, because they need to hit it big with numbers. But I bet it's going to end like garbage. Like garbage, I bet it's going to end. And to be honest, I kind of don't want to watch it myself. I feel like I've got to, because I'm a completist and I got to see it end. But this has been the longest thing to watch. Like there's an episode sitting on my computer here that I just still haven't watched. It's almost a week old now. Okay, since I'm filming this close to Saturday, it's almost a week old, and I just don't have the motivation. There's a billion other things I'd rather do than watch these episodes. In fact, I may let them build up a little bit so I can just puke and hold my breath and just make it through the end. I may not watch the rest of the series for a while. Let it build up a few episodes so I just get it over with quick. Quick and painless death is what I want. But once the We Are Negan, season-long tease, that's when the show just lost its luster for me. And my wife was like, no, it's still going to be good. And she was still harping its praise for at least another 2 seasons after that. But after a while, she realized, oh, yeah, the show is not getting good anymore. Because they kept introducing newer characters that were maybe half as interesting as the other characters they'd introduced. And then when they introduced even more new characters, they were only a quarter interesting. It's like their new characters get less and less interesting. You just don't care about them. Where, when they introduced someone like Abraham, you started caring about him. And other things, these other characters that were really special, even though they got introduced later seasons, 2, 3, 4, but you were still following them along. And ever since that season 6 terrible episode, We Are Negan, anyone they introduced is really not, you've really not been interested in them. None of them. They're really not that good. So, that's a show that should have died off way long time ago. I don't have any honorable mentions because, again, I didn't look it up. I just thought about the shows off the top of my head, but I know that you're going to have some, so please put them in the comments below. That's what I want you to do there. Other things I want to talk about. Not much, since I don't have much time. Killed a lot of time there. Other things I want to talk about. There is... I believe I told a Steven story. Benjamin and I have told stories before about how we kind of first met. I want to talk about Mikey. I want to give you a good Mikey story. And I want to say that CJ and I actually told this story live years ago on the podcast. But just to give you another Mikey story here, Mikey is a hilarious dude. He's a good friend of mine. He's been a friend of mine for many, many years. And one of my favorite stories, and he hates this story, which is why I'm going to tell it. When we used to play the board game Zombies, every weekend we would play Zombies in an expansion to Zombies. And he was part of my, you talk about the OG, like the first 2 people who, when we started a gaming group, was CJ and Mikey. That's why we did Samoflange too, because we do board games. But we only played Zombies, and we played Zombies in an expansion. We'd always play through them and have a great time. But... there was one time we started getting silly with a bet that Mikey was so convinced he was going to win this. He said, I'm going to win this one. I feel I'm going to win it. I said, okay, if you don't, we were eating Taco Bell. And I said, if you don't, whoever loses, let's say, comes in dead last, they get a taco to the face. He's like, yeah, we all agreed. Well, Mikey came in dead last. He didn't win at all. And he refused. He welched on the bet. He said, you're not going to rub a taco in my face. And when I thought, man, that's so unfair. So what we did, and it's on my YouTube channel. If you check out some of my early ones, or I don't know if you can search my channel individual, but it's called Taco to the Face. And it shows CJ eating a taco and me filming, and CJ slams the taco into the face. I said, you know what you did. You know what you did. All that is based off of, because you don't understand the video. If you ever saw that and you're like, okay, some kid hit another kid in the face and it's Matt screaming at him, you know what you did. It's because he welched on the zombies bet and didn't take a taco to the face. And this was like 8 months, 10 months later. We finally got him back. We've been wanting to do this, and I want to do it on camera. And that's why that taco to the face, I think it's just called taco to the face. I think that's why it exists on my YouTube channel. Just to explain a YouTube channel with Mikey, and that is Mikey from Saturday Morning Samoflange, but that's the whole explanation behind that video. Just wanted to give some inside baseball if you've watched some of those old stupid videos. All right, folks, that's it for now. I'll see you next time on Saturday Morning Samoflange.